evidence existed that Asian people were historically black in complexion. Although the out-of-Africa theory is widely accepted, scientists are more interested in finding proof that can make this theory a law. And now, some less known and less seen pictures of Asian people from the 17th, 18th, 19th, and early 20th centuries have emerged, changing the entire paradigm. Today, Asian people are either white or brown, making it hard to prove that Africans had migrated to Asia first. However, it gets black and equally profound if we dig deep into history. Welcome to a new episode of Black Culture Diary, a channel where we talk about less known and hidden black history, culture, arts, and lost civilization. We scrutinize history here to bring the black culture back on the surface again. We would like to thank you, the members of our community who have been watching our videos and supporting us. For those who are new, we encourage you to join our community in supporting and building a strong Black history education medium. In this episode, we will explain how Asian people were historically black with pictures never seen before. Let's get started. Asia and especially China had a black population, but you should not confuse it with black people coming directly from Africa for trade or other businesses. Rather, we are talking about people with distinctive facial features like modern Chinese people, but with a black complexion. However, even if this is a reality, people don't know about it. The fact that you have not heard about it proves the point that recorded history missed important points. But fortunately, the preserved pictures of the Chinese people reveal what history has missed. Number 1. Black and white Manchu ladies. Once upon a time in China, there was a mighty Qing dynasty. Ruled by the Manchu people, this empire stretched from 1644 to 1912 and was often described as vast and multicultural. During the mid to late 1800s, European visitors traveled to China and captured the country's essence in black and white photos. Among these adventurous photographers was John Thompson, an Irish man with a passion for uncovering the beauty of the world. Thompson's camera lens held a magical power. It revealed a China that was surprisingly diverse and full of wonders. One of his most astonishing pictures featured 6 women gathered together in a lovely courtyard. The caption called them Manchu ladies at a meal, and the scene was set in 1869, in the bustling city of Peking, now known as Beijing. In the heart of the photo stood 2 women, each with their own unique story. On the right was a typical high-class Manchu woman, radiating grace and elegance, but on the left, there was someone different, someone special. A smiling black woman full of warmth and charm caught the eye of anyone who gazed upon the picture. You know what's amazing? Thompson didn't make any distinctions between these women when he described them. Even though there were clear physical differences and some of them might have been attendants or maids, he saw them all as simply Manchu ladies sharing a delightful meal. In his eyes, they were fascinating subjects, part of the colorful tapestry that was China. Number 2, girl from Lao Cai. Once upon a time, in a faraway land called Lao Cai, nestled among the majestic mountains of northern Vietnam, a young girl's captivating image was frozen in time by a talented French photographer named René Tétard. This girl was no ordinary sight. She held a charm that left the photographer in awe. Lao Cai was no stranger to history. In ancient times, during the Tang dynasty, it was part of a southern province known as Annam, a name that meant pacified south in the language of the empire that once ruled these lands of China. Back then, the region was a melting pot of diverse cultures, with various non-Han Chinese ethnic groups calling it home. And this young girl was descended from one of these groups. As the years passed, the Han Chinese population expanded southwards, and the once diverse communities either migrated further south or gradually embraced the ways of the dominant society. The girl's appearance, with her hairstyle, jewelry, and clothing, now reflected the cultural assimilation into the ways of China. The tales of these ancient times were recorded by wise historians like Thant Myint U, who penned works like Where China Meets India. In this book, he mentioned a Chinese ethnographer named Fan Chou, who compiled the Book of the Southern Barbarians, or Manchu, during the 9th century. It was a fascinating collection of stories about the various peoples living in and around Yunnan, including the Wuman, or Black Southern Barbarians, named for their darker complexions. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video, and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Number 3. A French photographer in Yunnan province. In the early 1900s in China's Yunnan province, a remarkable photograph was taken during a time when the French were busy constructing a railroad through the mountainous terrain under their control. In this captivating image, the lens captured three Chinese kids standing alongside the French photographer Georges-Auguste Marbot. Yes, these youths possessed distinct physical characteristics commonly seen in the southern regions of China. However, among the trio, one boy who crouched beside Marbot drew attention with his striking black complexion. This boy, who didn't know his picture would be timeless, proved that China had black roots. Number 4. A family eating a meal. In 1869, a renowned photographer named John Thompson embarked on a journey to the vibrant Kowloon area of Hong Kong, a bustling city nestled within the Guangdong province of China. Little did he know that his lens would capture a truly touching moment, a snapshot of a family sharing a meal. In this mesmerizing image, a tall and graceful woman takes center stage, surrounded by two men who could be her husband and father, seated at a small round table. Their young children join them, completing the intimate family gathering. The table itself tells its own tale, bearing the marks of their shared meal. As one gazes at the woman, her appearance tells a story of rich heritage, a beautiful blending of diverse ethnic characteristics. Her dark complexion and facial features, resembling those of the older man, speak volumes about her unique ancestry. These remarkable traits are mirrored in the children's hairstyles, an echo of their parents and grandparents. The customary bangs adorning the women and the men's long braids and partially shaved heads serve as a gentle reminder of the fashion embraced during the ancient Qing dynasty. Number 5. Two girls at Pei Nin Ting. In the early 1900s, an American photographer named Sidney D. Gamble embarked on a journey to capture moments that history failed to notice. During that, his lens captured a heartwarming scene, forever preserving a moment in a place he called Pei Nin Ting. At the center of his photograph were two adorable little girls, their innocence frozen in time, framed between the years 1917 and 1919. Eager to unravel the secrets of this captivating location, Gamble embarked on a quest for answers. Yet as he delved into his search, the location remained elusive, teasing him with its enigmatic charm. Even the vast resources of the internet, represented by a Google search, failed to provide the desired results. Undeterred, Gamble's relentless spirit led him down a different path. An unexpected stroke of luck appeared when he turned to the archives on Google Books. Among the ancient pages of knowledge, a promising lead emerged. The location he sought was revealed as the mountainous Pei Nin Ting region, nestled within the picturesque Beidaihe district of China. This coastal resort area, adorned with natural beauty, graced the landscape of Qinhuangdao, a province in Hebei, positioned approximately 200 miles to the east of Beijing, China's majestic capital city. Number 6. A mother with two children. In this photograph taken by famous photographer John Thompson on the streets of Peking, now Beijing, a mother and her two children can be seen. However, she and her two children are quite different but paradoxically similar to today's Chinese population. It's because their facial features are Chinese. However, their complexion is distinctively black. A counter-argument presented is that the black complexion was due to Chinese people working in sunlight, but a specific difference exists between being genetically black and from sunlight. This particular picture strengthened the argument that Chinese people really have African genes which manifested physically until the early 19th century. And Harvard University has reported that the ancient DNA reveals Africans were Chinese ancestors. Did you earlier believe in the out of Africa theory, which says that all humans have origin in Africa? What do you think about Black Asia and how Asian people evolved to have white and brown skin? Let us know your opinion on these pictures, which now declares Asia was black. Also, tell us whether you would like a second episode on dark-skinned Asian people. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned. thing. Black Africans are a threat for them. That's because they resist cruelty, fight against it, and remain united, becoming a close-knit community. They never allowed colonial masters to devalue Black culture and customs. No matter how hard white supremacists tried to provoke Black Africans to give up their identity and accept white lifestyle, they never succeeded. This strengthened the white supremacist belief that as Black Africans cannot be competed with, they should be considered a threat to their own survival. If they were to live and maintain their hegemony and privileges, Black Africans had to be chained, subjugated, killed, and beaten. Welcome to a new episode of Black Culture Diary, a channel where we talk about less known and hidden Black history, culture, arts, and lost civilization. We scrutinize history here to bring the Black culture back on the surface again. We would like to thank you, the members of our community who have been watching our videos and supporting us. For those who are new, we encourage you to join our community in supporting and building a strong Black history education medium. This episode is a sequel of the first episode we had created on why Black Africans were historically viewed as a threat. We want you to know it to really understand the source of hostility. Let's get started. Number 1. Intelligence. Throughout history, Black people have faced enduring prejudice and discrimination stemming from racist beliefs and stereotypes, particularly regarding their intelligence. They were considered inferior in intelligence, yet the reality was opposite. Racists fear Black intelligence. However, the harmful misconceptions have been wielded to justify oppressing, marginalizing, and excluding Black communities. During slavery era, slave owners and advocates of slavery propagated the false notion that Black people were intellectually and morally inferior. These baseless beliefs served as justification for enslaving Black people, arguing that they lacked the capacity to govern themselves or participate equally in society. Scientific racism also played its role. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, the rise of scientific racism, driven by flawed and biased studies, perpetuated the unfounded idea that Black people were inherently less intelligent than white individuals. Pseudoscientific theories like phrenology and eugenics were employed to bolster these racist ideologies, further oppressing Black communities. Yet white supremacists were playing their role to keep Black Africans away from education. Even after the abolition of slavery, Black people in the United States faced segregation and the enforcement of Jim Crow laws, which promoted racial separation and denied them access to quality education and equal opportunities. These segregationist policies were based on the misguided belief that Black people were intellectually inferior and needed to be kept apart from white society. Number 2, collective power and unity. Whatever challenged white supremacist hegemony was considered a threat. Unity and collective power the Black communities held were a major contributor to this threat. Hence, white supremacists always tried to keep them distributed. White supremacists had already seen how powerful Black people can be when they are united. During the transatlantic slavery era, enslaved Black individuals resisted and revolted to gain their freedom, which caused fear among slave owners and authorities who worried about losing control over their labor force. The Haitian Revolution is a significant example where enslaved Africans united to overthrow their oppressors and establish an independent nation. In the 20th century, Black people in the United States fought against racial segregation and systemic racism through peaceful protests and civil disobedience during the Civil Rights Movement. These actions frightened those who wanted to maintain discriminatory policies and segregation. Throughout history, Black communities have supported and stood by each other during difficult times, posing a threat to those who sought to marginalize and divide them. Additionally, Black people engaging in political activism, organizing voter registration drives, and advocating for political representation threatened those who wanted to suppress their political influence. Black workers actively participated in labor movements and trade unions, advocating for better working conditions, fair wages, and workers' rights, challenging those in positions of power. Establishing Black-owned businesses, schools, and community organizations contributed to economic independence and social progress. All this further exacerbated the white supremacist belief of Black people being a threat. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Number 3, Black people. Immigration. There were times when Black people faced challenging times and they had to immigrate to other countries. Yet racists feared that they would use too many public services and be a threat to their host nations. This fear came from long-held prejudices and unfair rules that discriminated against them. During the colonial era, Black individuals who tried to immigrate to Western countries encountered harsh laws and policies that were meant to stop them from coming. Sadly, these rules were based on racist ideas, and some people wanted to keep their countries the same, without any diversity. At different times in history, there were worries that Black immigrants would take away jobs and resources from the people already living in their new countries. This fear made racists view them as a burden on public services, even though there was no real evidence for that. The saddest part of these stories is that people often believed negative stereotypes and mistreated Black immigrants. In some places, they faced segregation and discrimination, which made it hard for them to get good education, homes, and jobs. Sometimes certain politicians and groups took advantage of these fears and prejudices. They used these ideas to convince others that Black immigrants were a threat to the country's welfare and public services. These politicians wanted to create unfair rules that made it difficult for Black people to come and live in their new homes. Number 4, historic suppression will blast. One day, Black Africans were marginalized and suppressed, yet they were seen as a looming threat, and it all stemmed from the cruel suppression they endured and the anxiety that this oppression might lead to a powerful uprising. The echoes of slavery, colonialism, and racial discrimination created deep anxiety among those racists holding positions of power. They worried that the oppressed Black population could one day rise as a united force, demanding justice and equality. Racists knew what they had done, and now they feared the consequence. During the dark days of slavery, Black people endured unspeakable horrors. Inhumane treatment, forced labor, and brutal punishments were the norm. Yet, they showed an extraordinary spirit of resilience, resistance, and an unwavering yearning for freedom. Acts of defiance and daring slave revolts, like the legendary Haitian Revolution, shook the very foundation of the oppressive system, intensifying the fear that Black people might join forces to challenge their oppressors. The scars of suppression and discrimination were etched deep into the heart and souls of Black communities, driving them to strive for equality and social transformation. The fear of possible retribution and a determination to prevent any uprising fueled oppressive policies and systems designed to keep Black people marginalized and powerless. Number 5, Black people never abandoned their culture and identity. Black people stood strong and proud, holding tight to their cherished culture despite facing immense challenges. The world was not always kind to them, as white supremacists tried relentlessly to erase or change their unique identity. But these Black communities showed remarkable resilience and determination, refusing to let go of their cultural heritage. Racists came to know that no matter how Black people are provoked to give up their identity, they will not. And if this did not happen, the Black people would be a threat, as they will not try to follow the white supremacist culture. Even during the days of slavery, when chains bound their bodies, enslaved Black people clung fiercely to their cultural practices, traditions, and languages. They found strength in preserving their identity, resisting the dehumanizing effects of slavery. Slave owners and white supremacists saw this unwavering commitment as a threat to their control and power, fearing that these acts of defiance might disrupt their vile plans to strip enslaved people of their humanity and treat them as mere commodities. Through the oppressive conditions of slavery and the painful Jim Crow era that followed, Black communities carried their cultural heritage forward from one generation to the next. Music, art, dance, oral traditions, and religious practices became the heart and soul of their identity and sense of community. Their refusal to abandon these cherished traditions was like a powerful rebellion against white supremacy, a bold statement that they would not surrender to the dominant culture. In the face of segregation, discrimination, and attempts to force assimilation, Black people never turned their backs on their culture. Instead, they embraced it as a source of strength and solidarity, forming close-knit communities that uplifted and supported one another. This unity became a thorn in the side of white supremacists, who trembled at the thought of a strong and proud Black community, one that could challenge their twisted racial hierarchy and oppressive systems. Number 6, Black people resisted and defeated white supremacists. In the dark days of slavery, Black individuals faced unimaginable hardships, bound by chains of bondage. But deep within them, a fire burned bright, a fire of resistance. The Haitian Revolution stands as a powerful testament to their bravery, as they rose up against their oppressors and shook the very foundations of the unjust system. Even after slavery's chains were broken, the struggle for equality was far from over. Black communities confronted discrimination, segregation, and violence, yet they refused to be silenced. The notorious Ku Klux Klan, a terrorist and racist organization against Black people, was unleashing atrocities. It was hanging and murdering Black people throughout the United States. Once again, Black communities gathered and launched an armed resistance against them. But the story doesn't end there. Black people, instead of crumbling under the weight of adversity, built strong and supportive communities. They uplifted each other, creating a bond that shielded them from external threats. This unwavering resilience shattered the illusions of those seeking to oppress them, leaving them with trembling hearts. Throughout history, Black people have proven time and again that they refuse to be subjected to injustice. Their spirit and resistance have challenged and threatened the very core of racial discrimination. The struggle for equality continues to this day, as Black individuals stand tall, declaring that they will never accept domination. Do you think white supremacists will stop viewing Black Africans as a threat? Don't you think that hostility towards Black Africans exists to this day, as there are still cases being reported? Let us know your take on the fact that Black Africans should consolidate their powers like intelligence, unity, close-knit communities, and collective fight against atrocities to stay strong. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.
Tale that spans thousands of years. The story of human migration is an extraordinary tale that spans thousands of years and countless generations. Through the analysis of DNA, historical records, and archaeological evidence, we can unravel the fascinating journeys our ancestors undertook, ultimately leading to the diverse nations we have today. Genetic studies have revealed that all modern humans can trace their roots back to Africa, where our earliest ancestors originated. The out-of-Africa theory, widely accepted by scientists, suggests that, anatomically, modern humans originated in Africa and gradually migrated out of the continent. Substantial evidence supporting this theory has been unraveled. Through the analysis of genetic markers such as mitochondrial DNA, Y chromosome markers, and most effectively autosomal DNA, researchers have been able to dig up great findings on the genetic lineages of populations and uncover intriguing connections. The implementation of these genetic markers in population genetics and ancestry studies have provided valuable insights into the genetic history and relationships among individuals, populations, and even species. Moving forward, as human populations gradually migrated out of Africa, they embarked on remarkable voyages across vast landscapes and encountered a multitude of environments. These journeys were driven by various factors, including the search for new resources, exploration, and the gradual colonization of different regions. As populations settled in diverse environments, they faced new challenges such as climatic variations, food availability, and the need to adapt to different living conditions. The migrations that led to the establishment of present-day China were no exception. Embark on a mesmerizing journey with us in this video through time and space as we delve into the direct descendancy of the Chinese population from Africa. In this story of migration adaptation, and interconnectedness, we glimpse the tapestry of human history, a tapestry in which the Chinese people are woven with threads of Africa, Asia, and the world at large. Before we get right into it, be kind enough to touch that like button, share as well to others in thirst of information, and subscribe so you don't get to ever miss out on more interesting updates in the future. Let us continue. It has been proven that the first men in China were black. An international study has found that the Chinese people originated not from Peking man in northern China, but from early humans in East Africa who moved through South Asia to China some 100,000 years ago, Hong Kong's Ming Pao Daily reported, in a finding that confirms the single origin theory in anthropology. In China, school textbooks teach that the Chinese race evolved from Peking man, based on a theory that humans in Europe and Asia evolved from local species. But DNA specialist Jin Ling and his fellow researchers found that early humans belonged to different species, of which only the East African species developed into modern humans. This new finding nullifies the theory that the ancestors of the Chinese people were Peking man, who lived in northern China 400,000 years ago. The Chinese narrative, which stretches the evidence by leaps and bounds in the interests of nationalism rather than well-balanced academic inquiry, has been heavily discredited and criticized. The lack of hominin discoveries in China in comparison to Africa, which continues to regularly produce fossils, illustrates that Africa was a much more genetically diverse region of the world in the distant past, which is an indicator of its greater age. The findings, however, that the Chinese people are descended from Africans, by even Chinese themselves, amongst other genetic scientists from other regions of the world, added new weight to existing theories that all human life began in Africa. Academics from the University of Texas and their colleagues in China studied 28 population groups in China and concluded that most, if not all, had their genetic origins in Africa. They looked at pieces of DNA known as microsatellites, which are short repeating DNA segments that yield information about genetic variation among people. The researchers found that all Chinese have a great deal in common genetically, although there are some regional variations. The findings, published by the National Academy of Sciences in Washington, supports what has come to be known as the out of Africa theory. This theory contends that Homo sapiens, the modern form of human life, is descended from a population of ancestors who migrated out of Africa about 100,000 years ago. Based on DNA analyses of 100,000 samples gathered from around the world, a number of human families evolved in East Africa some 150,000 years ago, said Li Hui, a member of Jin Ling's team. About 100,000 years ago, some of those humans began to leave Africa, with some people moving to China via South and Southeast Asia, Li stated. This research was conducted by an international team of researchers from Brazil, Russia, India, and other nations in a 5-year project studying the geographic and genealogical roots related to the spread and settlement of modern humans. The new data also supports the idea of an African Eve, who is an ancestor of all living humans. The Eve hypothesis, first published in 1987, suggests that all human DNA can be traced back to a single female. This Eve would have lived in Africa about 200,000 years ago. The latest research challenges an alternative theory which holds that several different groups of humans evolved separately at the same time in several places around the world. Chinese mythology holds that the Chinese are descended from a single ancestor, the Yellow Emperor. More recent Chinese scholarship has argued that the Chinese evolved separately from other races. H. Imbert, a French anthropologist, stated in his book Les Negritos de la Chine, the Negroid races peopled at some time all the south of India, Indochina, and China. The south of Indochina actually has now pure Negritos as the Semangs and mixed as the Malays and the Sakais. Another author and professor, Chang Xing Lang, revealed similar information in his writing on the importation of Negro slaves to China under the Tang dynasty. Even the sacred Manchu dynasty shows this Negro strain. The lower part of the face of the Emperor Puyi of Manchukuo, direct descendant of the Manchu rulers of China, is most distinctly Negroid. These professors, through their research and studies, have reason to believe that a Negro empire actually existed at the dawn of the country's history, citing evidence of substantial populations of blacks in early China, including finding reports of a major kingdom ruled by blacks being frequently mentioned in historical Chinese history documents. and Chinese chroniclers report that a Negro empire existed in the south of China at the dawn of that country's history. The notion that blacks were the original inhabitants of China has been thwarted by white scientists and even some blacks as the result of a sweeping message of white superiority and inferiority of black Africans and their descendants spreading worldwide. In 2005, DNA testing proved that the first inhabitants of China were black Africans. The study, conducted by the Chinese DNA specialist Jin Li, a team of Chinese and other scientists, proves this fact. Li admits that he wasn't even trying to prove this actually, never had the intention to do so. Instead, he initially wanted to prove that the Chinese evolved from Homo erectus independently of all humans. After collecting more than 12,000 DNA samples from 165 different ethnic groups, Li and his team found that early humans belonged to different species, but modern humans had descended from the East African species. Curious, isn't it? Let's quickly take a look then at what the genetic markers have uncovered for us, shall we? The migration. The Chinese ancient populations ventured from Africa into Southwest Asia, following various routes. One notable route is believed to have been through the Arabian Peninsula, their feet leaving imprints on the shifting sands, footsteps echoing through lush forests and verdant plains. Leading them, with each passing generation they ventured further, venturing to the Indian subcontinent and further into Southeast Asia. From there, they would have eventually made their way into what is now modern-day China, a land brimming with breathtaking landscapes and untold possibilities. The transformative nature of human migration is remarkable. These migrations were neither swift nor linear, but rather occurred over extended periods, inevitably involving multiple waves of human movement, and also the change of physical attributes. Such was the case of the Chinese, genetic mixing. During the migrations of ancient humans, populations interacted with and assimilated local groups, resulting in genetic mixing and the establishment of diverse ancestries. In the case of the Chinese population, genetic studies have uncovered fascinating links between East Asians and other populations. For example, the Han Chinese, the largest ethnic group in China, exhibit genetic connections to populations in Central Asia, Siberia, and even as far as Polynesia. These connections can be traced back to Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands. These findings hint at ancient migration routes and interactions that shaped the genetic landscape of China. Moreover, DNA analysis has shed light on the genetic contributions of ancient hominin species, such as Neanderthals and Denisovans, to modern human populations. It has been discovered that these archaic human relatives interbred with our direct ancestors as they migrated out of Africa. As a result, many modern non-African populations carry traces of Neanderthal or Denisovan DNA, including East Asians, including the Chinese. Historical records and archaeological evidence also shed light on the connections between Africa and ancient China. Trade routes, such as the famous Silk Road, facilitated cultural and genetic exchanges between East Asia and other parts of the world, including Africa. The Silk Road served as a conduit for not only goods, but also ideas, technologies, and human migrations. It connected civilizations and fostered cross-cultural interactions, contributing to the rich tapestry of human history. Change in physical attributes. However, as populations settled in different regions, they also experienced changes in climate, dietary patterns, and other environmental factors that influenced their physical attributes. One notable example is the evolution of skin color. The melanin pigment in human skin, responsible for its coloration, gradually adapted to local conditions. In regions with intense sunlight and higher UV radiation, such as Africa, natural selection favored darker skin tones as a protective mechanism against harmful radiation. However, as populations migrated to regions with lower UV radiation levels, such as East Asia, where sunlight is often diffused by cloud cover, natural selection favored lighter skin tones to facilitate the production of vitamin D in the absence of intense sunlight. This adaptation to different climates and levels of sunlight likely contributed to the variation in skin color we observe today in modern populations. Another distinctive physical feature often associated with East Asians, including the Chinese, is the sexual selection. It is important to note that not all East Asians exhibit this trait, and its presence can vary within different Chinese ethnic groups. It is important to emphasize that genetic research is an ongoing field,